Hello, guys. Let's begin. Unit 2, Chapter 1, Nature and Meaning of Law. Introduction. The law and legal system are very important in any civilization. In modern times, no one can imagine a society without law and a legal system. So, why we can't imagine? Because there need to be a law, rule, regulation to maintain discipline, to maintain peace and order in the society. So that if anybody, he commits he murders a person, so that may not happen ki there is no law, so no punishment given to him, so there will be no fear among the people that even if I murder a person I will get no punishment, I will be free and I will be able to kill more and more. So there will be no fear among the citizens or the people for not doing such ill acts. So, for that, a legal system, some rules or regulations are important to be implemented in the society to maintain law and order and to maintain harmony among the people of the society, to maintain discipline. Rules and regulations are very important. Law is not only important for an orderly social life, as I told you, to maintain law and order, to maintain harmony, it is important, but also for the very existence of mankind. Therefore, it is important for everyone to understand meaning of law in a layman's language. So, in this chapter, as you can see, the heading itself of the chapter is Nature and Meaning of Law. So, in this chapter, you will be able to understand and get into what law means and why it's necessary. So, law in layman's language. Layman is anybody's language, any ordinary or a prudent man, what he may understand out of the term law is a system of rules and regulations which a country or society recognizes as binding on its citizens, which authorities may enforce, and violation of which attracts punitive action. So, law, according to an ordinary or a prudent man, is a system wherein some rules and regulations are laid down by the authority. They are responsible for implementing those rules and regulations, and if they are implementing, then that has to be obeyed and taken up by the citizens as binding upon themselves. They have to give themselves the laws, they have to obey that, and if they violate a rule or a regulation or a law, then they will get punishment for that. These laws are generally contained in constitutions, judicial decisions, legislations, etc. There may be an order which was passed, there may be a decree, there may be any legislation or new act framed by which certain new laws come into being, and the people have to obey that, and they may be mentioned in the constitution of the countries. And if any, by any judicial case, something is framed out, see, laws can be framed out of legislations or judicial decisions also. So by any case, if something has brought up and which is important to be implemented in the society for its welfare, so that can be framed as a law from judiciary part also. Jurists and legal scholars have not arrived at a unanimous definition of law. Means, according to them, there is no one definition of law to each of them would agree. Unanimous is to each one of them agree. सब लोग agree करें ऐसी कोई particular definition of law नहीं हुई है अभी तक. Problem of defining law is not new as it goes back centuries. Some jurists consider law as a divinely ordered rule or as a reflection of divine reasons. So some people say that law is an ordered rule or a reflection of particular reasons, because reasoned principles or reasoned why you are making those rules and regulations, what is the reason, what is the rationale behind that. So that is also taken into consideration while framing a law, that this thing has happened, oh, a person has committed murder, now I need to frame a law that will give punishment to a person who has committed this ill act. Are you getting the point? So a rationale behind behind framing that law is important. That's why some jurists consider law to be a divinely ordered rule or a reflection of divine reasons, because due to this rationale or due to this reason of this ill act being committed, a new law is getting framed for that. Law has also been defined from philosophical, theological, historical, social, and realistic angles. Now, over here in this box, Justitia, a Roman goddess of justice, wore a blindfold and has been depicted with sword and scales. Sword and scales. Scales because वो किसी को नापती नहीं है. She treats everybody equally. देखो बराबर में होते हैं इसके ये scales. And blindfold because she may not be able to see who is rich, poor, who is male, female, and she may not be able to make any sort of discrimination. So representation, and this is also an Indian system of judiciary में आपको courts में ये lady दिखेंगी. क्या नाम है इनका? Roman goddess of justice, Justitia. Representations of Lady of Justice in Western tradition occur in many places and at many times. Like Justitia, she too usually carries a sword and scales, almost always draped in flowing robes and mature but not old. She symbolizes fair and equal administration of law without corruption, avarice, prejudice, or favor. She may not be biased for someone, she may not favor a particular person, means she will not do any sort of discrimination based on any grounds. Now, from here, it is because of these different approaches that different concepts of law and subsequently various schools of law have emerged. Jurists hold different perceptions and understanding of what constitutes law and legal systems. Over here it is just mentioned that how different jurists have different ideologies related to law. Historical perspective. Plato is carrying a copy of his Timaeus and pointing upwards, which symbolizes his concern with eternal and immutable forms. Aristotle is carrying a copy of his Ethics and keeping his hand down, which symbolizes his concern with temporal and mutable word. It depicts different approaches towards law from ancient times. So Plato is having his own thesis and Aristotle is having his own. Plato points upwards, saying that something which is eternal, which will last forever, and Aristotle is pointing downwards, which means that law is just a temporary thing and it is bound to change, because as it happens that with time something becomes old and it becomes obsolete, and in place of that new laws come or some amendments are made into the old ones. So that's how it happens even in the modern times in India, if I talk about. So Aristotle said that it is just a temporary and mortal thing, it is not permanent. So these are two different approaches in the same picture you see. So Aristotle, ancient Greek philosopher, defined law as an embodiment of reasons, whether an individual or community. Means reasons or rational. That's why it is said that whenever you are making a verdict or a decision, you have to be reasonable for that. What are the reasons or on what grounds you are making such decision? What is the rationale behind it? So law is a document or a reflection of reasons, whether it is the reason behind a community or in an individual. British philosopher Jeremy Bentham defined it as a collection of signs declarative of a volition conceived or adopted by the sovereign. So according to Bentham, it is a collection of signs or documents or declarations that is adopted by a sovereign country. You know what is sovereign, we did it in the previous chapter. Noted British jurist John Austin says a body of rules determined and enforced by a sovereign political authority. As we just now read about, that law is a set of rules and regulations which are implemented or framed by the authorities and which are obeyed and which are binding upon the citizens of that society or the country itself. So according to John Austin, law is similar sort of thing, a body of rules which is enforced by a political authority. Sovereign, you know what it is. Well-known British Yugal philosopher Herbert Lionel Adolphus Hunt. A system of rules, union of primary and secondary rules. Primary rules impose duties on people to behave in certain ways. Secondary rules pertain to primary rules. So, according to H.L.A. Hart, law is a system of or a set of rules, and those rules are divided into two parts, primary and secondary rules. So one unit of primary and secondary rules combined is law. Primary rules is what, which imposes certain duties or certain, it tells the people that how you have to behave, on what, if you do this action you will get this punishment, so now you have to take that. So how you have to behave, how the laws I am framing, you have to obey that. So that is primary rules. Secondary rules, that by contrast pertain to the primary rules. German jurist historian Friedrich Karl von Savigny, law is a product of general consciousness of people. Whatever the people's conscience or consciousness, awareness is, according to that, they frame their law in the society in which they are living. Because if the people are aware about that, we need not to, like, if I take the example of ancient Indian times where the sati and child marriage systems were prevalent. So it was the consciousness or the awareness of the people that widows, they don't have to sit on the funeral of their husbands and they have to die like that. So it was the consciousness or awareness of the people of that time that now this system is banned, right? And that has become a law, so that you don't have to commit sati, you don't, and child marriage is now illegal. That means a law is set up which says that doing this thing is wrong or doing this thing is violating the law. So as per this example, you can understand that law is a product of general consciousness of the people. Then distinguished American legal scholar Ross Pound, an organized and critically controlled body of knowledge both of legal institutions and legal precepts and of legal order, that is of legal ordering of society. So what is, according to Pound, is an organized controlled body of legal knowledge institutions. Legislature, legal institution is what, who will frame the laws that will create and law and order in the society. Oliver Wendell Holmes, noted American jurist, the prophecies of what courts will do, in fact, and nothing more pretentious, are what I mean by law. So prophecies is the forecast. He says that whatever in the future the courts will do, that is in fact and nothing more. I will not say anything more, but whatever the courts will do in future, whatever their verdicts or predictions would be about framing the laws, they will give a verdict for a particular situation. So that will be a precedent, that if in future similar case or situation case comes, then how you have to deal with that. So that becomes a law, precedents become law. So that is what according to him is, whatever the court's verdict or whatever the court's orders would be, that will be law. American philosopher Ronald Dworkin, judges create a rationally integrated and coherent network of legal principles, which is law. Similar to the previous one, Wendell Holmes, judges, whatever they according to their rational discretion or reason, whatever decisions they make, whatever network of legal principles they create out of the existing systems in that country, that becomes law. Israeli philosopher Joseph Ras, law consists of authoritative, positivist considerations enforceable by courts. So, last 3 to 4 you see, they all are talking about the judiciary part. On the basis of definitions of law as provided by jurists and legal philosophers over time, one can understand that there cannot be a universally accepted definition, as different schools are characteristically different in their approach. Every person has a different point of view, right? So everybody, when we talk about what according to you is definition of law, he gives a different perspective of himself that he is having. So there cannot be, till now, there cannot be a universally accepted or a unanimous definition of law, which if I say like आप कोई और चीज़ बोलो, what is, say, what is Ohm's law? So there is a, a particular universally accepted definition that if what is matter, what is Ohm's law, person is asking, तो वही definition हर बंदा बोलेगा. But till now for law there is as such no particular definition which is fixed. For example, the positive school does not consider moral values as part of law, while natural law school considers law and morality as inseparable. So you see two different approaches. Positive school says that moral values are not a part of law, and natural law school states that law and morality cannot be separated. One says that इट इज़ नॉट अ पार्ट, वो उससे बिल्कुल भी रिलेटेड नहीं है. दूसरा कह रहा है कि वो दोनों इतने रिलेटेड हैं कि उनको एक दूसरे से अलग नहीं कर सकते. नाउ, schools of law, next video.